And so what do I mean by that? Well, I can make the decision to be honest, but where's the action? There can't be a completion on anything if we make a decision, but we don't what? Have an action. Goes back to the old, three frogs on a stump. Two decide to jump in, one does. Who took the action? The one that jumped. So, it's kind of that same kind of deal. We have to be willing to say, you know what? If I'm honest, am I willing to put everything else together where it all comes together? So here's the thing. So let's talk about it with an example. And this is an actual example that's happened in my life. And so let's say that someone has an issue with me, right? They got an issue, and they don't like the way that I'm handling a situation with somebody that they're very close to. So instead of coming to me, they go to my wife, Holly. And which they did, and they're honest about the situation. They're telling the truth about the situation, right? 100% honesty, the way that they see it. And telling her what they believe to be factual. So what are they doing? Well, they're telling her why? In hopes that she will come to me and fix it, right? So here's the thing. There's honesty, but no integrity in that. And I'll explain why that is. So think about that. They're being honest, 100% honest. But how is it that they don't have integrity? Here it is. The first thing they wanted Holly to do was come back and triangulate their situation and plead their case to me. Now, here's the thing. Who knows what triangulation is? Right. It's when I choose to tell you something, hoping they'll go to you so that you will hear what I wanted you to hear without me having to do it, right? Here's the problem with that. Number one, y'all remember the old game? It's like you whisper something to one person and they whisper it to the next, they whisper it, and it's what? Completely different than when it started off to be. See, that's what happens in the triangulation situation. The other thing too, by the way, this is a little side note, if you ever get caught up in that triangulation deal, check this out. You know who loses every time? The person they went to handle everything, right? But here's the other problem with triangulation. It ends up being manipulation and control. And when something's manipulation and control, guess what that is? That's codependency. But it's also dishonest. If I go and tell you something that's the truth, hoping that you're going to go to this other person, it is the truth, right? But it's still dishonest because I'm trying to do it through control and manipulation. So there was no integrity. You see, they never once came to me. One-on-one, y'all know that one? Yeah. Let me talk to you for a minute. And the whole thing is, that's not even biblical, right? For them to go to somebody else to handle it that way, which they've done. Because we do what? We go to our brother or our sister, and we talk to them, and we get what? That crazy little thing. What do they always say? The only thing that gets in the way of good stories, the facts, right? Get the facts. Find out what's going on. Find out, what did that person mean? You see, one of the things that we have to realize is that we cannot be quick to judge. God can't work in that. And Proverbs 18:13 says a lot. No, yeah. Spouting off before listening to the facts is both shameful and foolish. How many times have we found ourselves making an assumption about somebody that turned out to be the farthest thing from the truth? Right? I remember years ago, I'm a chef, y'all know that. So what's one of the things that we use to cook with? Alcohol, right? So I go to the liquor store, and I go, and it's right across from 8111, and I grab the wines that I need, and I walk out of the store, right? And by the way, I intentionally don't try to hide it. I walk out, put it in the back of my car, drive off. What's the newest rumor at 8111? Right? Chef's drinking. Right? Based on what? We saw him buy alcohol. He was over at the liquor store, and you should have seen the way he came out. Man, he just walked out. Right? You get what I'm saying? A lot of times, what we see may not be the truth. And yet, we're quick to judge. And I love the fact that it says that it is both, not one, it is both shameful and foolish. Why? Because so many times it will come back to embarrass the person that's making the assumption. And it's foolish to do it without what? Without investigation. What do we call that? Before we investigate, we say that before we investigate, we're just going to make a decision, and that always comes back, right? The book tells us that. I can't remember the phrase now. What is it? Contempt prior to investigation. Wow, that just went right off I'd totally forgotten that. So what does that mean? It means I've already condemned somebody before I even investigated what it was about. See, jumping to conclusion usually leads to unnecessary conflict. In that situation, it caused conflict with me and my wife. Why? Because they care about this person, and they knew that. That's why that person went to them, right? I'd sponsored them for years. Went to my wife, and it ended up causing conflict. It was a small thing. We got over it. But the point is what did it do with that person? Here I've sponsored them for years. It caused what? Separation. You see, there's so much more when we're honest. And I love that. Because what do people say? Well, I just tell the truth. Well, as much as I hate this term, your truth may not be my truth. There is only the truth. You're basing it on your truth. And that's a major issue. You can't keep working forward and hope that what you're saying about other people may be true. What's that called? Gossip. Thank you. What is one of the biggest things that the Word talks about? You know what? Let me tell you something. Gossip is compared to lying in the Word, and lying is compared to what? Murder. Because you're murdering someone's reputation. So, to make sure that you do have all the facts first, not what you think it may have been, right? In other words, I've found this out to be true. My sister's the one that taught me this. And she says, take people at face value. Just take them at face value. And that's hard in the beginning. Because there are times that the question is, well, I know that compliment wasn't a real compliment, right? Called a little backhanded compliment. But here's the funny thing. When I take someone at face value, I don't end up foolish and shamed. But the other thing that's kind of interesting is that it upsets them more than it upsets me. If they're lying to me or they're lying about me, they're thinking, he's just too stupid to realize that I was trying to say that he didn't even know what And it's funny because they get all twisted with it and I'm just moving on. And I love that. So, it kind of goes back to this. I'm going to trust you. I'm going to actually take you at face value until you prove me wrong. And if you prove me wrong, obviously it's going to put a problem. It's going to put an issue with our trust in the future. But more than likely, I'm still going to take you at face value. True integrity is being willing to wait before responding. I was thinking about it. One of the hardest lessons that I had to learn was to wait. Right? I had to wait before I could respond, even when you've been attacked. That's the toughest one. Man, this year I've been lied about. I've had rumors spoken about me and my company. I have had lies spoken about my wife. I have had literally someone from the pulpit try to disgrace me. And here's what I found out. I've never responded. And when it all came down, guess what? They're the ones that are sitting there with nothing, not me. You see, I literally understood the idea and the concept of let's let God go deal with that before I do. Now, there is sometimes a place to respond, but it's when God tells to you, right? Matter of fact, you know what? Let's just read just for a second here. I was thinking about this earlier. Page 91, right? And it talks about restraint of pen and tongue, right? Matter of fact, I'm not even going to go into all of it and read the whole thing. But the bottom line is what it's saying is don't react. Don't jump out there and say, man, this is where it's going to be. I had to deal with this one last night. I had my phone. I bet I put in that text message about 3 times. Take it back out. All right, then I switched over to email. Took it back out. I dealt with this thing till 2 a.m. in the morning. But I didn't respond. James 1:19, I love this, tells me, understand this, my dear brothers and sisters, you must all be quick to what? Come on, everybody. Listen, hallelujah. And slow to speak and slow to get angry. Think about this. It's telling me slow to speak is also slow to anger. So quick to speak generally produces what? Quick to anger, right? So here's the thing. I know this sounds crazy, but you know, your grandmother, your granddaddy taught you a lot of good stuff. And I remember my grandmother saying, son, there's a reason why God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth, right? You know what I'm saying? It's like one of those things where it's like, maybe God knew what he was doing when he just stuck one of these and 2 of these there, right? And so it makes sense. Why don't I listen? But here's the biggest problem. Let's talk about listening. There's so many people out there that aren't really listening. They're trying to set up their next comeback. You get 2 people that are angry with each other and they're mad over a situation and they're going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And you know, neither one's hearing the other one. Not a single thing they're saying. Nothing. What are they hearing? Oh, well, let me think. All right, they said this. I'm going to bring up this. And you spend 45 minutes in heated conversation, or let's just, straight up argument, right? And you ain't heard nobody. All you heard was buzzwords that you can use to pull up all that old garbage in the back of your head so you can throw it back at them. What did you accomplish? You just lost 45 minutes of your life you'll never get back. Sometimes it's better to say, even if it offends me, I'm going to listen. And there's a lot of times when I have that attitude of I'm going to listen and make myself listen, I start hearing things that I didn't hear before. And it's amazing that all of a sudden the person has a real, maybe hurt. They may have a real want. They may have a real need. And I'm too busy back there trying to figure out what I'm going to say next. Life isn't that hard. But here's the thing, my friends. When it says slow to speak, that doesn't just mean slow to speak. It also means slow to text, slow to email, slow to Instagram. Y'all get what I'm saying? That's the modern day what? Restraint of pen and tongue. It's not just with the person involved. That includes talking to everybody else behind their back. And I love being Southern. I do. I enjoy being Southern. But there's some things in our culture, it's a little different. Like, bless their little heart. I'm only telling you this because, why? You need to pray for them. Well, such and such, right? Am I wrong? That is part of our culture, correct? Right. So we sit there and we have an issue with gossiping. And the whole thing is all I'm doing is I'm slandering that person. Well, I was talking to somebody about this today. If somebody always comes to you and they talking bad about everybody else, guess who else they talking bad about? You. That's right. So sometimes we got to sit there and go, Matter of fact, the whole point in this was, it was a sponsee. And I said, because they were asking about another situation, I said, I can't tell you about it. And then there was something going on with the church. I said, I can't tell you about it. Why? Because if I'll tell them, I'll tell everybody else. You're held. That's integrity, my friends. It's when you say no. One thing I love about Pastor Bob, and he and I both the same way with this. I love a lot of things about him. This is one of them. Is that we won't triangulate. You got a problem with me? He'll go with you. He'll bring you. But he'll say, let's go talk to Pastor Paul right now. Let's go deal with it right now. Same way. Somebody got a problem with him? Well, let's go talk to Pastor Bob right now. You see, when you do that, you make integrity. Integrity becomes the most important part of that whole process. In other words, I'm sorry. And I'm going to tell you something. If you're a grand sponsor of mine, and you got an issue, you can come talk to me any day you want to. Except one thing. What is that? I will not talk to you about your sponsor. There's no integrity in that. I'm actually telling you, it's okay for you to go around your sponsor and come to me. So what is integrity? Well, let's look at the definition of that. It's my definition, whatever. It's consistency between one's moral convictions and their actions. In other words, what does that mean? It's unwavering consistency between one's moral convictions. What does unwavering mean? James talks all about it. I'm not going to be a double-minded man, right? I'm not going to be one that's tossed back and forth. Like what? Like the mighty ocean. You know what happens when you get tossed back? I used to like to scuba dive. And I hate scuba diving under 10 feet. And I'll tell you why. Because the deeper you get, the less motion you have. The worst place in the world to be is about 5 feet under, because you're doing this number the whole time and you don't realize it. And the next thing you realize, I ain't feeling so good, right? And the weird thing is the best thing you do is actually go deeper. It's actually the best thing you can do. But everybody wants to get out, right? And then they wonder why they're seasick, because they're not willing to go deep enough. And that's how it is in life a lot of times. You're not willing to go deep enough in finding out, did this person really do that? Did this person really do this? I know that may sound weird, but it's like integrity means that you're held to a different standard. But it's not only unwavering consistency between one's moral convictions and their actions, that's especially when they're being tested. When you're going through a test, that's when real integrity happens. See, integrity has to become a way of life. Let me explain something to you. I'm just going to ask it to you like this. Did anybody in here have an issue with lying before they got clean, sober, or in recovery? Did any of them, raise your hand if you did have an issue with it? I'm talking about you never lied. You were so honest the whole time you were using. Well, I don't see no hands. Now let's ask it a different way. How many of us were liars, cheating, thieves when we were out there? Right, all of us. There you go. That's the point. So what's the first thing we got rid of when we introduced our addiction, when we brought in addiction into our life, what's the first thing that left? Integrity, baby. It was gone out the door. I think about my first 4-step. It was incredible. It was awesome. I wrote everything. And about 40% of it was true. The rest of it was a heck of a novel, right? I should have published it. The point is, I couldn't even be honest with myself, much less with anybody else. Well, there you go. That's the problem. So what's the first thing they start telling us? What? If you were what? What's the first thing we read? Think about that. What's the first thing we go into a meeting? What's the first thing we read? Yeah. Keep going. Right. And what does it tell us? It tells us that we have to be what? Honest. Honest. Matter of fact, it says the only people that fail in this deal is what? Those who are constitutionally incapable of being honest with how many people? With themselves. Ooh. Ouch. So here's the deal. Integrity is a way of life. We have to walk in integrity. That means we have to live integrity. So here's the first thing they always teach you, right? When we come in recovery. It's all about your word. Do what you say you're going to do. Simple as that. Man, that was a tough one for me. I'd tell you, I'll meet you for Saturday for 4 different places at the same time. And never even think twice about not showing up. Literally, I have a friend of mine, I kid you not, been a friend of mine for 40-something years. And he doesn't care whether he shows up or not about half the time. And so you know what his name is George. You know what we say? You've been Georged. You know? And it's like George will go, hey, yeah, P, I'll be right there. And you know it. I'm going to be there. And it's like, nah, 50-50 shot, right? And then guess what? He's consistent. He's consistently not there. There we go. We got George. So here's the thing. Let me explain how walking in integrity is. Let's look at Proverbs 10:9. And it tells us, people with integrity do walk safely. Why is that? Because they're not always having to remember what lie they just told. But those who follow a crooked path will be exposed. I loved being a dad. I've always loved being a dad. But I'm doing like this because I'm thinking about when my kids were about, yay high, right? And that's when they start, like, getting caught up. Like, they said one thing, and then they accidentally said something else. You know what I'm saying? They expose themselves totally every time. And that's always, and then they look at you and go, well, how did you know? Because I got a longer memory than you do. That's why, right? But it's true. It's like people, when it says walk a crooked path, what is that talking about? It's talking about people that aren't consistent. It's talking about people who dodge things. They're always trying to get around. Instead, just straight. It's amazing. But here's the biggest one. Be consistent and honest, especially with ourselves. Be consistent and honest. I thought about this. Father's Day is coming up. I've been thinking about my dad a lot. He passed a couple of years ago. And I was thinking about him because he was in a tough industry, right? He was into financial planning and a bunch of other stuff like that. And I would think about the fact that his reputation was he would always pick the phone up. Even when a deal tanked, he would always pick the phone up. He was consistent every time. Now, why was that important? Because it's the right thing to do? Yeah. But guess what? People go back and invest more money with him. Because he didn't walk a crooked path. He didn't try to get around, be slick and cool. He just answered their questions. And that's the way I want to be. Right? But it just all starts with who? With you. It starts with you being honest with you. Tell the truth even when it's not comfortable. There's a lot of times the truth isn't comfortable. You know? You're like, Lord, you said it's going to set me free, but I sure don't feel free going into this deal. But you know what? It goes back to that thing about being willing to say, it's my fault. Right? It's like, I screwed that up. It's my fault. I used to, man, it would like, oh, my gut would be like, I don't want to say that. Now it's like, dude, it's my fault. I'll take care of it. We're good. It's okay. We're fine. But part of integrity is being willing to be transparent. What's transparency? That means I'll let you look into my life. Here we go. And where does that start? That's by doing the what? The fifth step, right? See, here's the funny thing. I tell people, especially newcomers, go right to fourth step. You may never say anything in that fourth step, in the fifth step. Just go write it. Be as honest as you can with yourself. I know they ain't honest in it. And so they start to read the fifth step, and I go, that's okay. Here, let's just talk. And they take the fifth step. And that's where the transparency starts. Not with themselves in that situation. What's the fifth step? It says, admitted to who? To God, which has got to be the easiest one because he was there during the whole process. Even when you were screwing up. Ourselves, got to learn to be honest with us. And another human being, the exact nature of our wrongs. I don't got to tell you every single thing I ever did in my life that was wrong, but what I do need is address the attitude behind it and why I did those things. And then take responsibility for it. It's the most amazing thing. I don't know, you've been around for a long time. Do you not see this more and more now? It's no longer becoming like an inventory. It's becoming a victim list. You know what I'm saying? I was victimized here, and I was victimized there, and you're so busy being the dadgum victim, you can't even have enough integrity and transparency to say, I may not have had a part in that, but look at everything else I had a part in. So we have to be willing to guard our hearts. Well, how in the world does that happen? How do I guard my heart? Well, let me give you the easiest one. Don't pick up an offense. Don't pick up an offense. But you don't understand. They said things to me. So, it's your choice. See, when we start realizing and learning that it's our choice, don't get me wrong, somebody says something mean to you, at first you're going to be like, whoa. But then choose not to live in it. That's picking up the offense. Is when I sit there and I go, man, I can't believe they said that to me. And you hold it, and you play with it, and you manipulate it, and you roll with it. You know, it's really kind of funny. The book tells us that we don't have the luxury of working with resentments and offenses. You see, when I'm offended and I'm busy working with that offense and building into a resentment, what I'm really doing is staying out of my life when I need to be in my life. In other words, I'm so busy looking at how you offended me, I'm not looking at the character defects in my own life. So that's why it says I don't have the luxury. In other words, I don't have the luxury of getting all over here angry. Let me tell you something. Don't kid yourself. Anger's like a drug, man. It'll get you keyed up. It'll get you ready to go. Instead of sometimes just saying, you know what? I'm just going to be sitting this right now. I may not like what I'm dealing with, but I'm just going to sit with it. Oh, I remember I went to a therapist for a while, and it was actually not a therapist like that. It was actually trauma therapy. And one of the things that came up were things in my life, and I was like, I can't deal with that. I can't deal with that. And I remember she looked at me, and Tony goes, how much longer Paul, are you going to live in that? Well, I don't want to live in it. Then go experience it and get through it. Go sit with it. And I was like, but it hurts. But she said, do you want to get through it? Then you got to go through it. And I ain't gonna lie, I wasn't like, okay, cool. Okay, yeah, I'm good. No, a lot of nights after that, I would go home with a pint of Haagen-Dazs, Swiss vanilla almond, and I would take that pint and I would sit on the couch and turn all the lights off and start crying. But as I would go through it, it would be gone. When I sat there and I allowed it to go through the process, life got better. That's integrity. That's integrity. I'm not going to live being a victim, but I'll have enough integrity to walk through it. That's where you need to be. As I said before, take people at face value. Why not? What else you got to lose? It isn't hard. Somebody may say, hey, would you like, I got a bowl of nuts. Would you like one? No, I'm good. My mind goes, they don't like my nuts. I have this different array of different nuts, and they don't like my nuts. Not one time did I take the time to find out they had what? A nut allergy. And they just weren't going, I got a nut allergy, man, stay there. Right? Right? Like I love this, right? We get sober. Is this not true? Y'all help me with this. Somebody says, man, would you like a cold beer? And you go, what? You go, oh, no, absolutely not. You don't understand. I'm in Alcoholics Anonymous, and I'm in recovery, and, I can't do a beer, and blah, blah, right? Now, at the place I'm at now in my life, someone says, you want a cold beer? I go, looks good, but I'm all right. Do you see what I'm saying? The more integrity we have, the less we have to volunteer. But integrity requires filtering what you allow into your mind so that your private choices match your private way of life. What does that mean? Let's look at it in Psalms. Psalms 101. I will be careful to live a blameless life. Don't put yourself in a position to get blamed. When will you come to help me? I will lead a life of integrity in my own home. You see, true integrity is always tested. Always is tested. But it's not tested because the enemy's trying to take you out with it. That's always happening in whatever you do. It's also testing you in such a way that it will help build your character. It's kind of the old, how do they refine gold? Turn up the temperature. The hotter it gets, what happens to the impurities? They come to the top. And a lot of us go, well, those impurities are coming to the top, and I just reacted out of those character defects. It came to the top. No. Integrity says, whoa, that's nasty. I got those things in my life. Lord, will you take them? Can I give them to you? I'm not going to act on those today. That is the seventh step. Because when I take enough integrity to sit there and say, I want you to relieve me of these character defects, there they are. I keep jumping in them and I keep screwing up, but I'm finally at a place where the heat's been turned up enough to where I'm like, I don't want this anymore. And he sits there and he takes it off the top, throws it away. That's when integrity comes to play. But where are we testing integrity? How about work? Right? It's like, do you charge more from one person than the other because you can? Or how do you treat your coworkers? Or how about this one? You telling the same jokes on the work site that you're telling at church? Are you honest with your clients? even when you've lost them money, that's, like I said, my dad was better at that than I have been at times. What about your everyday life? In other words, your day-to-day. When you go to a meeting, when you're working with people, when you're talking to your sponsor or sponsees, how are you? Are you showing integrity? Are you being honest? Are you still trying to mold things the way you want to? And this is the one that always, how you act behind closed doors. Well, yeah, but I mean, I'm real good there where everybody sees me. Yeah, I get that. But how are you behind a closed door? You know? Well, I love God. Hallelujah. Thank you, Jesus. But there I am late at night. There's a computer. And I'm off to the races in places I shouldn't be. Where are you? How you treat your wife, your husband? How do you treat your kids? How do you treat those in your life? How do you treat, how do you treat your kids, even the one that is rebellious and doesn't, and tells you straight to your face, I don't love you? How do you treat that one? Now for the biggest one. Where's your integrity when you're all alone? I found two things out to be in my life. The place that I'm alone more than anywhere else is the car. Which I find it interesting that more people have issues with road rage than any other area of their life. Why? Because that is one place that you are alone that Papa God wants to talk to you. And the enemy don't want him to. And so I find myself in two places. One, got to go to work. Man, I got all this going on at work. You know, don't know what we're going to do with this. I don't know how we're going to pay that. I don't know, you know. Or I have that same frustration level, but the difference is, Papa, I don't even know what to say. I don't feel you. I'm not hearing you. But I believe you. And then that kind of rolls into, I do love you. And I know you love me. And then before long, it gets to, praise you. I'm so grateful that you're in my life. And it goes from there to, I love you. I praise you. Oh, I want to have prayer with you. I want to spend time with you. Sometimes the most honest prayer that I can have is, I don't know what to pray, but I know I want to be with you. I want intimacy with you. I don't feel intimacy right now, but I want intimacy with you. You never know who you affect. I have a sponsee who loves, she loves the Lord. And a new believer, 4 years maybe, 5 years. And the first thing she always says is, my Father loves me. And this is somebody that's been so severely used and sexually abused from the time they were 3 until they were 15 years old. And they sit there and talk about the love that they feel. You see, they're no longer held back by anything else. And why do I say that? Because I was in a place, I was at her house, and I was in a place, and I went, and it was rough, right? I had to go down to the water and sit there, overlooking, watching the dolphins. That was the coolest thing. And I'm looking, and I'm just like, I just love you. I love you so much. You created these dolphins, these beautiful animals. I just, wow. And I was so moved by that. Tears started rolling down my face. And I actually had, my old church had music playing. And she walked up on me. And I'm just praising Papa God, and tears are coming down my face. She says, what's that? I said, oh, that's my church. The point I'm getting to, she tells a lot of people this. When I saw a man love his God so much that it was emotional. It was everything. She said, as I watched the tears run down your face, she thought, I got to have that. I want that. And that's what she asked me. How do I get that? And I shared it with her. And the point is, be true. Be the person that God intended you to be. Have that integrity that he gave you all the time, even in your worship. And what is worship integrity? I will be honest no matter what, God, even if I'm feeling angry, if I'm feeling tired, whatever it is, I'll come to you and tell you that. And then say, hey, there it is. I'll lay it at your feet. You have your way with me. Whatever that means. That's integrity that we want to have. See, godly integrity is to pray about everything. Everything. How do I know that? And we'll end it with this. Philippians 4, 6 and 7 says, don't worry about anything. Remember, I said there's two places you can go for me in my car. I can go worry about everything, or I stop worrying. Don't worry about anything. Pray about some things. No, everything. Everything. Coming back. Tell God what you need. Isn't that funny? That's funny to me. Because who knows what I need more than anyone else? God. So what does that mean? It means I'm going to humble myself so much that I'm going to tell you what I need. And he says, and thank him for all he has done. I've been sober over 15,000 days. That's 15,000 miracles. And I got to thank him for another one. If you got nothing else to thank him for, you thank him for that. Then you will experience God's peace, which exceeds everything that we can understand. His peace will guard your hearts and minds as you live in Christ Jesus. In other words, it's as simple as this. The more I trust him and the more integrity I have with him, the more peace I experience. And the more peace I experience with him, the more peace I experience in my own life. And that's the whole way he designed us to be. He never wanted us to be under a bunch of trouble or anxiety or any of that stuff. He never did. We did. Don't get me wrong. Life is full of things that can get us off track, anxious, depressed, whatever it may be. I'm not sitting there saying you should never feel. I know what I'm saying. I'm saying even in those times, you can still feel the peace of God. And the more that I can feel his peace, the better chance I got of getting through tomorrow. Right? All right, great. All right, let's close it out. Who's really the only one that can give us integrity? Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us of our trespasses as we forgive those that trespass against us. Walk away from evil, right? So that we will never have to be controlled by that again, Lord. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever and ever. Amen.